ChoralEd. Welcome to episode 11 of ChoralEd. I'm your host, Micah Bland. Thanks so much for watching. Today we start a new series on vocal warm-ups. And to kick off that series, I want to share with you all some general suggestions about implementing vocal warm-ups into your classroom. So to begin, it's so important as you are preparing for a rehearsal to really consider the purposes behind the vocal warm-ups that you're doing. That you're not just going through the motions and picking random exercises because you like them, but they have a purpose for the development of that singer and those singers in your rehearsal, in your classroom. And so there's many different books and different suggestions about the purposes that you should address. And so we have here, of course, the Group Vocal Technique by Fraka Hausman and James Jordan. And they have a whole list here of about 20 different purposes, and then they go, of course, into details about each of these, from things like posture, breathing, resonance, dynamics, range extension, high range, low range, flexibility, legato, staccato, all these little minor details. And so you can look at all these and kind of address all those. And that's a lot to address in one rehearsal. And so there is a different approach that uses the acronym PROARTE, P-R-O-A-R-T-E, which stands for posture, relaxation, onset, articulation, resonance, technique, and efficiency. And so the idea here is that you address all 7 of these categories during your vocal warm-up time. Now, for me, and I'm sure many other directors out there, they kind of have their own kind of PROARTE design. And so I will present that here. Of course, you can create your own, but I kind of combine them in a different way. So the idea here is I address all of these areas during the vocal warm-up time. Now, before I start talking about this, it's important to consider that you don't have to have a vocal exercise for each one of these categories. Many of them can be combined, and a vocal exercise can address 2 or even 3 of these areas all at once. So the first one I begin with, and I do these usually in this order actually that I'm presenting, and this is how my vocal warm-up order goes. I start with an exercise that is related to posture, relaxation, or airflow. Usually it's going to be airflow and relaxation. A bubble, or say, that there's this air movement and this relaxation in the voice. I don't necessarily always do a posture. Sometimes I do, a stretching, but it might just be a quick reminder of, all right, check your posture, all right, check your head, neck, whatever it may be, not a dedicated exercise. The next that I move on to is tone. And this would focus on phonation, onset, and resonance. So after we get the air flowing, the sound relaxed, we create that tone that we want. That was all discussed in our last series. And so after tone, I move on to musicianship. And this is the one that can really be incorporated into any other vocal exercise. I might ask them, all right, now crescendo it. Say, 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 say. Now decrescendo. Sing it staccato. I might ask them for different character qualities, like sing it angry, sing it joyous. You can do that as well as asking them for different musical styles, sing it like jazz, sing it like operatic. I then move on to ensemble cohesion. And this is another one that can kind of be tied into the whole realm. I don't always give a specific exercise to this, but this can be tied into many things. But the goal here is that we are listening to each other as the ensemble. Instead of being soloistic singers, we are one group to align ourselves rhythmically, orally, as well as connecting, ensemble cohesion, connecting with the director. And so that is the goal during that time. We also have addressing specific challenges in the repertoire, that we are using exercises that will be beneficial to the repertoire that we're doing later, not that the vocal warm-up time is a completely separate ordeal. Yes, we are training the voice, but it should also be related later to the repertoire that we're doing in that rehearsal. I also like to do mental activation. This is one that I really always try to incorporate, that we are waking up the brain. So many students are coming from other classes, maybe it's first thing in the morning, so they're still asleep. And so that you are waking up the brain and energizing them, ready to sing and thinking about musicianship and thinking about the sound that they are producing. And finally, I like to have some type of fun exercise. Now, of course, it doesn't have to be pure fun. There can be some other components in there. Usually it has some type of musicianship quality to it or ensemble cohesion. And also all these can then address tone, breathing, relaxation, that we are continually monitoring that as we move down this list. But the important thing here is I like to end with a fun vocal exercise, kind of getting them energized into the rehearsal time. And all of these things, my next point here is it's important to describe the purpose to the students. You know the purpose as you are selecting them, but it's also important to share that with the students as it provides them with a goal, a communal goal that they are working for, right? It could be as simple as, this is for our tone development. All right, so I should be focused on the tone I'm producing now, not just singing, whatever they want to. It could be that you could say this is for that octave leap in that song, Oh Praise the Lord. All right, so that's what we're focused on, the octave leap. And so then that brings us to our next point here, is to provide feedback. So many teachers just go on da 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 da, and I'm hearing all these mistakes and things, and it's just a pure warm up. There is no vocal development here or preparation for the rehearsal. Giving feedback during this time is so critical. This is your time to really set up the sound for that rehearsal and really train the ensemble in different techniques, as well as prepare them for some of the techniques that you want them to accomplish in future music that you're going to perform. So giving feedback is so critical, and give feedback mostly on the goal that you state. Now, I don't always state a goal and a purpose for everything. Usually I state it once a week, as we repeat things, or especially if it's a new exercise. Why are we doing this exercise? At least once a day, give some type of purpose so it reminds them, oh, there is a purpose to all of these. We're not just doing it for funsies, as they might say. It's also critical to have a variety in your vocal warm-ups, that you don't do the same exercise day after day after day, or start the same way day after day. Now, you can use the same consonant and vowel. For example, I use say, get the air moving, and for relaxation. But I might change the pitch and the rhythmic feature, right? You don't have to do the same pitch and rhythm all the time, and that can give some variety as well, even though you might be using the same consonant and vowel or the same style of exercise with the same purpose. As I already mentioned, in one of the kind of areas of vocal development that I use, or for the vocal warm-ups, is connecting the exercise to a repertoire, as well as creating your own vocal exercise for that, to address an issue in that vocal repertoire. For example, I had selected the Messiah choruses for December, and I knew that my choir had never really done melismatic music. Whatever. For unto us a child is born. I was like, oh, this could be dangerous. So pretty much from the very beginning of the school year, before we started rehearsing, which was going to be two months later in October or so, when we would start the Messiah rehearsals, I started them beginning of the year on incorporating ornamentation, melismatic exercises to prepare them for that music. And so, of course, then even in the beginning, I said, in December, we're going to do a song that has a lot of melismatic material. This exercise is preparing us for that. And so really using that, or maybe you have an octave leap and kind of isolating that, oh, praise the Lord. Do an exercise to prepare for that as you're looking at the music. Now, along these same lines, it's important to consider that you don't have to do all your vocal exercises during the very beginning of the class. You can do them right before that repertoire is going to be rehearsed. And that really helps a little bit in two ways. One, it keeps it fresh on the mind that, okay, we're connecting this to this song, as well as it can be helpful in the transition between songs. You can say, all right, now take out, oh, praise the Lord, turn to measure 5, and as you do that, sing, oh, praise, whatever your vocal exercise is. And this kind of keeps talking to the minimum. It keeps students from causing distractions during that transition time. That's often when students can cause the most problems. They feel compelled to leave the risers or do this, that, talk to their friend. But as you start the next warm-up and move on to the next thing and have a transitional time, it's very beneficial that way, as well as preparing for the song that you're about to sing. In these vocal exercises, when you start, especially the first two exercises that I do, I try to use a top-down, descending motive approach. This top-down approach was discussed and described by Dr. Scheibe in his episode, in about episode 6 or 7, I think it was, where he talked about the idea is that you're coming top-down with this more head voice quality instead of bottom up, a chesty voice quality, oh, with that tension, which is what he doesn't want. And that top down is really critical as far as tuning and intonation, really helps you a lot. So starting with an ascending motive in the first couple exercises is not usually going to be beneficial for you. Start with a descending, so you get this top down quality first, and then you can do some ascending vocal exercises after kind of singers and students get warmed up physically, mentally, and ready to sing. Talking about the piano and using the piano, it's highly suggested to move away from the piano as much as you can. You don't have to play every note. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. All you need to really play is dee-dee, dee-dee. If you use the piano, it is suggested that you use it only as harmonic support, that you're playing chords and not playing every note. It's important to have the students be able to listen to each other a little more. They're less reliant on the piano. This will help you when it comes to a cappella music, that they are already comfortable singing a cappella when you use it regularly in the warm-ups. They're also tuning and listening differently. And so it's so important to avoid being so reliant on the piano. Now, talking about that every half step, dee-dee-dee-dee, I often like to jump around or use a whole step instead, or do a whole step scale up. This really makes the brain think. It gets out of the monotony of da-dee-dee-dee, okay, now down, dee-dee-dee, whatever we're doing. The students kind of check out when we do every half step, especially if we're not stopping for corrections and giving feedback. And so jumping around or doing a whole step or mixing half steps and whole steps really makes the singers think. It goes, oh, I have to pay attention. Oh, that was different. Oh. And so they're not checking out anymore. And that's so critical to keep them engaged. And so I might do that once a rehearsal, once a warm-up time, do a different kind of interval, jumping around, or different intervals in between the exercises. I also encourage you to consider using things other than just major keys. So many warm-ups are just, everything is a major. We also sing in minor. We also sing in other modes, maybe a whole tone scale of some type, or a Dorian mode, or whatever it may be, that we are expanding the realm of what they hear, and so we get used to singing in minor. We get used to that minor key a little more than just always singing in major. And finally, the cool down time at the end of rehearsal or after a concert. This is often so neglected by teachers. I'm equally guilty of it. When you have a 45-minute rehearsal, it doesn't seem as important, but just about every piece of literature out there on vocal warm-ups stresses the importance and describes the importance of a cool down time. It could be a very simple thing, like a sigh at the very end of rehearsal, or a hum, a bubble, and it's a few 15, 30 seconds of that. And what it does is it kind of relaxes the voice after a more strenuous time of singing, and kind of transitions the voice back to speaking. This also might be helpful as far as classroom management goes, and doing a short cool down time at the end, because students become restless towards the end of class. This kind of recenters them, and then you can give your announcements and dismiss them and be done with class. I personally saw the importance of the cool down time after having the opportunity to sing with a choir that was backing up Voces 8 in a concert with a few songs. And after the concert, there they all were, all 8 of them, doing some type of cool down right after the concert ended. And so the professionals do it. It is critical to the voice and the health of the voice and maintaining a healthy voice, especially when you're doing rehearsal after rehearsal every day, or extended rehearsals for 2 hours, hour and a half, whatever it may be. It is also important when you sing a more strenuous concert, like with an orchestra, where they have to project a little more, and to have that cool down time where they can recenter and relax the voice back to speaking. So those are the suggestions to start off this series. I hope you find them helpful and beneficial to your rehearsals. I hope you also look forward to the videos that are upcoming. We're going to address many of these areas I talked about in more detail. We also have some great guests planned for this series, and so I hope you look forward to hearing from them. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you continue to inspire the future leaders of our world through this wonderful gift we call music. Thanks.